I'm proud to say that we are the first chapter in the state of Missouri that has a volunteer that has been deployed to Oklahoma. She is a nurse that is specialized. She's a supervisor in mental health care, and that's something that's going to be needed almost immediately by those folks down there. Mm-hmm. And she is a supervisor, and so what she'll do is assess the situation there and determine how many health worker volunteers that she's going to need, or health care, and then those will be deployed down there, and she will oversee their day-to-day operation in helping get them deployed to the right areas.
Okay.
We've got others. Both of our emergency response vehicles are on standby right now. We've got drivers. Each one of those has to have 2 drivers, and so those drivers are on standby as well. We're very fortunate in this particular chapter to have a number of supervisory and chief positions that are held by our volunteers. And anytime we have a disaster at the magnitude of this, generally they're going to be deployed at one point in time. So it's just a matter of trying to determine where's the best place for them to go, and where we can stage in the most safest place that we can be for our volunteers, and then they'll get the phone call. The healthcare workers just provide a lot of spiritual help, as well as provide the mental health of being able to help people deal with the loss of their home. Many of them, the loss of their children and the loss of family members, and so it's a difficult time for them to go through. Our volunteers that we've had have got that experience, that they've seen this many times before. They're not insulated from it by any means, and they're affected by it, and that's why their deployment is generally no longer than 3 weeks, because they need to take a break from that. Going down and seeing the magnitude of that disaster and seeing it firsthand is so much different than seeing it on television. And when you get there and you see it and you smell it and you feel what's going on, it has a definite impact on you. And if you think about it, just that the impact that it has on us, but think about the impact that it has on those that live there in that community, and see what it's become. With the Red Cross, it's not just as easy as saying that I want to volunteer. There are a number of classes that you need to go through to be trained in certain areas of expertise, whether it's sheltering, whether it's mass feeding, whether it's community relations. Each one of those different lines of service that we have provide different services to those clients. And I think you decide on your own, where your passion is, what you want, what you like doing best. And if you have an expertise we've got one man that was a former chef, so mass feeding is really where he does his best, and so he's learned how to do that, and he's taken the classes to do that. We have over 270 volunteers in the Heart of Missouri chapter, and they range from people that have been volunteers for 3 months to ones that have been volunteers for 15 or 20 years. And so a very dedicated cadre of folks. At the first after pictures and saw what the after pictures of Joplin and the after pictures of Moore, Oklahoma, I mean, they're almost identical. And you look at the big difference is that the tornado in Joplin stayed on the ground for about 25 minutes. This one stayed on the ground for 47 minutes. And moving as slow as it was, the amount of destruction that can be done. And I think that one of the impressive things to me that I saw and that I've heard is that some of the first responders to Moore, Oklahoma were folks from Joplin. So they knew where they had been, and they were the first to help their neighbors out. We know when something like this happens that we're going to be getting a phone call from National that comes through our region, and it determines what our next steps are going to be. And so we reach out to our partners, and one of those first ones that we reach out to are our media partners. You're able to get the word out to a great number of people very fast, and so we rely upon that partnership. We want to let everybody know that they too can become involved. They don't have to go to the store and buy water and batteries and all that kind of stuff. That they can actually come down here, come down to our headquarters office and drop off a check, and we'll make sure that it gets to the right place. I think one of the things, and I take this personally as well. When I saw the images last night of the elementary school, and I've got a granddaughter that's in the 3rd grade, and so my mind immediately went to her, and it went to the families that are down there and the grandparents that are down there that lost their children and grandchildren. And so it becomes very personal, and we have to step back occasionally, but this is why we do what we do, because we are there to serve those that are facing the worst day of their life.
So
If those that want to help, and I think that somebody, and they do want to help, they need to know that the Red Cross does not get any federal government money. We don't get any state money or local money. We rely upon the generosity of our donors, both individual donors and corporate donors. And I'm so impressed each time that something like this happens as to how many of our corporate partners step up and write really nice checks for us to be able to help those people. And that's really what it's all about.
what types of...
We have a warehouse. We have warehouses that are staged throughout the country that when something like this happens, that we can go to those warehouses and we can pull the water and the ready-to-eat meals and blankets and cots and anything else that we might need. We have an office. We have one of those warehouses in St. Louis. We have another one that actually is in Oklahoma City. So the staging of it is going to be pretty easy.